And here's the Plaques, and you can see they've got some grain going across way, walnuts, got oaks, cedar, and some pine. And these are just scraps that I, cull from my boards. I resaw my lumber from logs that I milled down 4 foot long, and cut them off of that resaw bandsaw right over there on the top. And I have a big sled that goes over top of that. But anyway, works out real good. The keyhole slots on them, and I'm getting where I just make these blanks up, a bunch of them, and I'll just put the keyhole slots in it and put the edges on them, get them ready to go. Probably do a little bit of a sand on them, and then get them ready for lasering. So it really came out pretty. It's kind of a toss up which one's the prettiest, just depends. But anyway, that's all just made out of scrap, and that's from the remnants of projects that I'm making. So there we go. All right, it is time to start making some plaques for our cardboard boat regatta that we have each year. And in that pre-version before 12 point, at 12 version 12, I'm using now 12.504, but this is a file I created last year, and it was created in version 12, and we didn't have these features that I'm getting ready to explain, but this was normally how that would open up when you'd have all your stuff on your layers, and if you turn your layers off, it would go over here. Let's go up here to layer 1 and go over here to our tool paths, pin that, and then we're going to turn off all our tool paths. This is your import feature for these plaques, and basically this text right here would change. The rest of it would stay the same. Of course, that was for last year, 2024. And this is a laser item, and it would create these. And the thing is, it would create them all on one sheet. So whenever you had all these on, like show all, then it would become very, you just can hardly read it. And then when you throw all the tool paths on it, this is what it looked like. So it was a little disorganized, and it's the way it looked. And that kind of thing. So they've added a new feature, and underneath the tool paths, I'm going to go ahead and just highlight this one right here like this, and then we'll go over to Plate Production, and they added this new sheets feature. So it's good, instead of creating them on the layers like this version was created, they've added this feature, so we'll be able to go over to that. Let's go look at a new file. It's basically the same file. I just opened it up from, we'll close that and open up the new file from 2025. And it looks quite a bit different. And of course, it's just a reminder to myself how I cut things off. But these are being cut on a laser, and that kind. Now, you got your plates that this created. There's the jig board, your plates 1 through 14. And then this is the design sheet that we created. I'm going to go ahead and pin the tool paths up there on that side like that. And this one, since this is activated, the jigs, just the toolpath of the jigs are highlighted. I love this feature. It makes it a whole lot simpler to see and to understand. And this is just a 1/4-inch piece of plywood with dog bones put on the corner so that these will set down in there. Then I use cam action clamps to hold the pieces down. And I learned if I use 2 cams in the same position, one will hold up against the side and the other one holds over the top on a 3/4-inch board. So anyway, that works out good there. Anyway, well, let's talk about this sheet production, and we're going to click over here and highlight that, and then that went over to our laser cut there. And of course, you highlight that and then go over here to your plate production. It defaults to sheets. My sheet size is 5x7. My plate size is 5x7 for plaques. I'm not using any borders. There's no margins on that, and there's no spacing because each sheet is just one. And then I'm creating the tool paths, and these are of course the classes that I've brought, and that kind of thing. So, and then I'm using of course the different stuff. So whenever you look at that assigns your classes and do your text and that kind of thing like that. Like this one right here is not really assigned, but that one is. So click calculate, it will create all of these sheets, all these tool paths right here, all sheets, and it will create all these. And so whenever I go to save my tool paths, I just click save it, and put all them tool paths to one file. So this is a whole lot simpler, a whole lot more organized, and it makes sense, and really a good feature for Aspire 12.05. As far as making plaques, I'm now making about 50 plaques at a time of different events or derbies or Ranger derbies or Pilot derbies, that kind of thing. And also I'm doing it for different groups, and of course it's all not for profit, but anyway, it's making this a whole lot easier to, boom, bam, baby, and I'm done, and I'm cutting them out. And I am on my laser pass. We'll look at this one here. It's a 20-watt laser, 20% power, 100% speed. I'm cutting on the thing, and basically I just take the plaque, the wood, and I cut it 5x7 on table saw. It's just basically rough. Don't put anything too much to it. I am getting to where I make these blanks ahead of time, and I'll go ahead and put a keyhole slot in the very back of it, and I have that on a CNC tool, so I can just load it up, drop it in there, and cut it, and get on with that. So anyway, this works real well, and they actually like the laser settings on this. Now, I will say that I am on a lot of my stuff, I'm Vcarving this as well. Vcarve all this, and then I go over it with a laser, and it really gives it a definition, gives it a 3D look. Works real well, and probably my preferred method of doing it. I'm no longer painting these. Painting's a hassle, it's a mess, but when I can go over it with a laser, it really makes it stand out. So after a V-carving, and of course if you just want the etching with the V-carve or with the laser, it does a really nice job, and that's primarily what these are, just laser etched. All right, well, I hope that helps, and thanks Vectric for coming up with these new features, and on this plate production tool, and we appreciate that, and keep up the good work. All right, I'm making some tool holders, and got a cargo trailer, and so I'm making some tool holders that will screw to a board, and it'll hold my hammers. And I was going to put it vertically in my cargo trailer, and these are my brackets. And I was going to use a Forstner bit. Well, that just a little drill press over there just won't handle a Forstner bit that big. So I thought, well, I'll just cut them out on the CNC. So what I did is came up with this little jig here. Of course, this is my scrap table. This is a shark. And get this brass washer out of the way. Get this piece out of the way just for the sake of clarity. Anyway, I use a lot of like just 1/4-inch pieces of plywood, have them set up, and then I use these cams that are, they're basically just a single plywood, 1/4-inch plywood, and I've got those on my CNC tool so I can make different varieties of it. I just tack a little fence down on the ground on the top of the table with a pin nail, a 23 gauge pin nail, and I just shoot some pin nails in there, and it holds it in there. And if you're doing 8 to 10 of them, the pin nails actually hold it just fine. If you want it to stay, you need to put some screws in there. But anyway, so that brings that in there, and then the cams hold that down. And then what you'll notice about this is this first cam goes against the side, this goes over the top, and the same with this right here. And in that respect, like that, and that thing just won't go anywhere. I mean, I'm moving the whole table, and so the inner one holds against the side, and the top one holds down. And the only thing is, you just need to make it this where this is just slightly, where this is holding it down. So then when you're getting ready to mill it, I can cut those holes out, no problem. Get ready to mill it, you squeeze your two together, move that back like that, move that out of the way, and lift your piece out. And so that works out real well. That's kind of a different way of doing it. I think I'm the only one that I've seen that was actually doing this thing, from what I've seen. Anyway, so these cams are just 1/4-inch ply, and I do use brass washers to keep the pieces held tight, and spacers sometimes on the bottom to bring them up to height. And sometimes I'll put 2 or 3 of these together to get up to height, whatever. So, you know, my pieces are 1/2 inch thick here. So that's a 1/4 inch piece, 1/4 inch, so that brings up to half, and then this overlays the top. So a little finagling, and then the screws keep it from moving anywhere. And if I want a little more restrictive, I can hammer down a little bit on the screw just a little bit, and then, you know, pull it all up. It's just very simple. Pop the screws out, take a screwdriver, pop that up, pull the nails out of it, and we're good to go. So I like the jig board. So these 2 are my jig boards, and this is my waste board. And every now and then I'll just pop that up and throw it away and get a new one. These are 1/4 inch Luan. You know, they used to be $11, $12 a sheet. Now they're, of course, they're $30 a sheet, or, you know, about $20 a sheet. And so, but I just cut them up. When they get all cut up and messed up, I'll flip them over, use them again, and so on. So there you go.